Dharmabytes is brought to you by Free Buddhist Audio, the Dharma for your life. Our work is funded entirely by donations from our generous listeners. If you would like to help us keep this free, make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. Thank you, and happy listening.
So that's how the lay people are thinking. I'm not saying this is how the Buddha is thinking. This seems to be how the lay people are thinking. This concern with what would happen after death, and a parallel concern, the threat that's coming from the spirit world, the gods, but particularly the more vengeful spirits, some of the yaka spirits and the rakshasas and the pretas, ghosts. I won't go through who all of these are. The spirit world is a very powerful presence in the Buddhist society, and religion in his society almost certainly revolved around placating these spirits. And unless you are doing that, you're in trouble. So there's a very well-known verse from a text called the Dhammapada, which makes sense if you put it in this social, cultural context. Many people, out of fear, flee for refuge to sacred hills, woods, groves, trees, and shrines. That's where they're making their offerings, to these kind of shrines. In reality, says the Buddha, this is not a safe refuge. In reality, this is not the best refuge. Fleeing to such a refuge, one is not released from all suffering. Instead, he says, you should go for refuge. In other words, find some kind of place of safety by committing yourself, making a connection with the Buddha, his teaching, and the community of his followers. So the Buddha is offering himself there as an alternative to the old religion. In some way, because of who he was and because of what he taught, this would be as effective for people, in fact more effective for people, than all of the things that the old religion had done, all of the things that allayed their primordial fears, the fears of the forces of nature. And there are many, many stories in the Buddha's life which show him taming spirits, taming demons. And I think this starts really with the story of his encounter with Mara, which if you know anything about the life of the Buddha, you'll have heard of. On the cusp of his enlightenment, this demon appears. And there are many ways in which the demon is spoken of, but in some ways, he is simply a very, very powerful spirit. And it may well be that what we're having is an echo of the fact that the Buddha sat down on the shrine of one of the central figures of the local cults, called Mara, and challenged him. But of course, this isn't just anthropology. Mara also represents death. He represents doubt. He represents the conditioned world, all of the things that limit us and keep us trapped in old ways of being. So he's a kind of a spirit, but a spirit who has these resonances in other ways. There are many stories like this. And I want to suggest that if we put ourselves back into that society, the most important thing that an engaged Buddhist could do was to offer some kind of protection against the spirit world. So the Buddha simply had to respond to that.
We hope you enjoyed today's Dharmabite. Please help us keep this free. Make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. And thank you.